from West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the following is provided by the West Virginia Department of Education and West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Hey! Hey everyone, it's Education Station!
Hi, and welcome back to Education Station. I'm your host, Alex Milanese. Education Station is a show where we invite teachers from all across West Virginia to submit videos of themselves teaching their favorite lessons. In today's episode, we're getting 3 fun, cooking-inspired educational lessons. So we're going to start things off today with Miss Landis, who's going to walk us through some of the math behind baking chocolate chip cookies. Let's go.
Good morning, guys. My name is Julie Landis, and I teach ProStart in West Virginia. And ProStart, if you don't know, is a national program of the culinary arts, and it's a lot of fun. So today I'm going to do a video that incorporates a lot of measurement and math into a chocolate chip cookie recipe. People don't always realize, and my students get tired of hearing it, but math is so important in the kitchen. So my favorite recipe that my students often make is a chocolate chip cookie recipe. And mine's a little bit different than most, and I'll share this with you later. But these are the measurement tools that most people use in the kitchen. So you have your standard set of measuring cups. These are dry measuring cups. It's a fourth, 1/3, 1/2, and 1. So as you can see, lots of fractions already. And I like visualization. So sometimes people are a little bit freaked out by fractions. I think you were scarred in elementary school. I don't know. But I did a little visualization. Everybody likes money. 4 quarters. Each quarter is 1/4 of $1. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals a whole dollar. Same thing with your fraction. So don't use the excuse, oh, my mom only has a 1/2 cup measuring cup at home. Well, 2 halves make a whole. And it's not ideal, but you can make it work. So another visualization. You don't see these little things much anymore, but they are half dollars or 50 cents. So a $1/2 plus a $1/2 equals a whole. So again, 2 of these make 1 of these. So I like to use things that we use in everyday life to make things more understandable. And then oftentimes in a professional kitchen, you're going to see scales used. So we weigh our food a lot. This is one of my oldie but goodie scales I've had for about 20 years. But what you do is you use weights, and these are some common weights for foods. Again, I'll share this later. These are ones, you might see ones that vary a little bit different on weights, but these are the ones that came with my scale and they work for me. So I did a little example. In the chocolate chip cookie recipe, we're using 1.5 cups of brown sugar. So 1 cup of brown sugar weighs 8 ounces, and I'm using 1.5 cups, so 8 times 1.5 is 12 ounces. So if I was weighing this, again, using math, I would put my scale on 0. Well, I would sit my bowl and I'd put it on 0 and weigh out 12 ounces of brown sugar. To me, it's a lot easier than using the standard set, but it's just what I've gotten used to. Today I'm not going to be using weights because most of you don't have a scale, and I know we're living in different times. So I'm going to use the standard way of measuring. I like big open containers. Yes, cute little canisters are cute, but to me they're not functional. I like function in the kitchen because I think it makes you cook more. So with brown sugar, I'm going to use 1.5 cups. With brown sugar, if you don't know, it should be packed. And again, your hands are one of your best tools in the kitchen. So you want to pack that and make sure it's level. And as I tell my students, it should come out like a little sand brick, like you used to do when you were a kid. So there's 1 cup, and then I'm going to use 1/2 cup. And again, if you didn't have a full set, you could use 3 1/2s because 3 1/2s equals 1.5. So same process. 1.5 cups of brown sugar. Next, I'm going to use 1 cup of margarine or butter. I'm going to use margarine today. It is less expensive. So 1 stick is 1/2 cup. 2 sticks equals a cup. I need 2 sticks. Now I'm going to cream these. I am using a stand mixer today, but you could definitely use a $10 hand mixer from the dollar store. But the point is to just cream this until it looks like one homogeneous mixture. As you can see, this is what it should look like after you've creamed your fat and your sugar together. It should look like one mixture. And this took 3 or 4 minutes using a stand mixer, so don't rush it. Okay, next I'm going to add my baking soda and salt. I need 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and the soda is in the box. Make sure you don't confuse it. Level it off on the edge so you get 1 level teaspoon. And then again, I like ease of function, so I keep my salt in a canister like this, and you need a 1/2 teaspoon. And you can use a straight edge of a knife to level that up. So 1/2 teaspoon. And then I'm going to mix this again. Most people add their leavening agent and their salt with their flour, but it's my technique to do it now because it gets incorporated really well. So at this time I'm going to use an egg, 1 egg. I already broke it so I didn't have to wash my hands, because you should wash your hands after breaking eggs. And then mix that. Now I'm going to measure my flour. I need 2 1/4 cups. So again, I'm going to use 2 1-cup dry measuring cups. I typically just dip the cup in and level off the flour, making sure the complete cup is full. So there's 1. Again, if you didn't have a 1 cup, you could use 4 1/4 or 2 1/2 or 3 1/3. They're all equal to 1. So I need 2. Here's another one. And then I need a 1/4. At this point, I am also going to measure my chocolate chips. I like to use a mix of milk and semi-sweet. You need a cup of each. Again, these measurements don't have to be exact because, the more chocolate, the better. I wouldn't go crazy, but if it's a little over 2 cups, that's fine. So I'm going to use a cup of milk chocolate chips and 1 cup of semi-sweet. If you don't like chocolate, this cookie recipe is a base that I use for a lot of other recipes. If you wanted to do white chocolate and macadamia nuts, you could do coconut and pecan mixture. You can do all kinds of things. So add raisins, whatever you'd like. I use it as chocolate chip, but I also use it again as a base for a lot of other cookies. At this time, I'm going to mix this together. Okay, here's the beautiful, delicious mixture. I love these they cost $1 or $2. It's a bowl scraper, and watch how wonderfully they scrape the sides of the bowl. So I gather all my dough up before I scoop it. This brings me to more math and measurement. I love to use portion scoops like most professional chefs do, and so I have 2 today. I'll only be using 1 because you want them all the same size, but I wanted to show you the difference. This is a number 40 scoop, and this is a number 30 scoop. And somewhere on these scoops, they're going to have that number. Sometimes they're right here. What that means is you're going to get 30 scoops, well, 40 in this case, 40 scoops and 30 scoops out of a quart. And that is, again, math in the kitchen. That helps with portion control, and it also helps with portion size. If you went to some place like Starbucks and your scone was 2 ounces and your friend's scone was 1 ounce, your friend would be mad. So that's what professional chefs do. They portion things so that everything is a consistent size. That keeps customers happy, and it also controls your costs. So today I'm just going to use the smaller scoop. I'm going to use the 40, and I'll get 40 scoops out of a quart. And when you scoop, you do want to level it off. Again, I use my hands and scoop them out. I'm very type A when it comes to my cookies, so I like to use multiple sheets so that my cookies don't spread together. So it takes a little bit more time, but you get prettier cookies. And so I make sure I have plenty of space between my cookies. Another tip I always tell my students is when you get to that last little bit of dough that doesn't have any chips in it, at this point I like to add a few more chips because not many people like to get that cookie that has 2 chocolate chips, and then that helps you prevent that problem. So if you wanted to hold out a couple from your original 2 cups, you could, but I just throw in a few more and scrape my dough together and then continue to scoop. Now you're going to bake these cookies at 350 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes. And I like to bring mine out when they're a little bit on the light side, because it's called carryover cooking, and they'll continue to bake from the hot pan for a few minutes. So we'll put those in the oven. And this is what the cookies should look like when they're finished baking.
Thanks, Miss Landis. Okay, next up, we're going to visit Mrs. Williams and Miss Shields, who are going to teach us how to cook our own homemade Play-Doh. Obviously, you're not going to want to eat it, but you're definitely going to want to see this.
Hello, boys and girls. My name is Mrs. Williams, and this is my friend and co-worker,
Miss Shields. I teach kindergarten, and Mrs. Williams teaches 3rd grade. Today we're going to make Play-Doh with you.
And first and foremost, folks, make sure that you think of all the safety procedures before you begin anything. This is going to involve a hot stove, so make sure you have your moms and dads help you with that.
So that you don't burn yourself, because it's boiling water, and you want to make sure that you keep everything clean and you do it together with your parents.
All right, one of the reasons that we are talking today, Ms. Shields, is because of math.
Yes, math is included in your ingredients. Whenever you are using ingredients, you have to measure, and measurement is a part of our math lesson. So the ingredients in order to make Play-Doh include 2.5 to 3 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of salt, 1 package of unsweetened Kool-Aid, and the Kool-Aid, you can pick it any flavor you want because it'll make your Play-Doh smell so good. 2 cups of boiling water, 3 tablespoons of oil, and 1 tablespoon of cream of tartar.
There's also a science lesson in this as well, and we will get to that in a few minutes.
We have now on our little burner a pot full of our 2 cups of boiling water, and it is now boiling, Mrs. Williams.
Yes, it is, Mrs. Shields. So we can pour this into our bowl.
Okay. I'm going to sit this back here, boys and girls, so that we do not burn ourselves. Even though we're adults, we still have to take precautions.
Now, boys and girls, the fun part is going to be when we open our pack of Kool-Aid, and we have chosen cherry. So what color do you think the water will be?
I hope that it's going to be red.
Now, here's part of our science lesson. If we have water and we pour the Kool-Aid into the water, what's going to happen?
It is going to dissolve. And now the Kool-Aid has dissolved into the water, and we have made a solution.
And why is it called a solution?
Well, I don't know, Mrs. Williams. Why don't you tell us?
It is when these things are mixed together and you can't take them apart very easily. So therefore, they are now called a solution. You can't tell the difference between the water and the Kool-Aid at this point.
Very good. I think it smells divine. So now we have to continue with our procedures, and we're going to add some dry ingredients, and we're going to add our 2.5 to 3 cups of flour to our solution.
Now, why is it that you think we need 2.5 to 3 cups? What purpose do you think that serves?
Well, I think it's because we could have more water, and we need to make it a little drier.
So yes, boys and girls have to be aware, and they might have to add a little bit extra just in case.
Yes.
But before we get to that point, if we are adding the dry ingredients together, do you know what that is called?
What?
That is called a mixture. It's simply a mixture because the 3 things are mixed together, and yet they can be separated easily if you needed to. They don't combine like the solution that you mentioned a few moments ago. So we have here, folks, our flour. We are going to put in our 1/2 cup of salt. And we are going to put in a tablespoon of cream of tartar.
And we already had those pre-measured so that we could make sure that we got that for time purposes, boys and girls. But make sure when you're measuring that you use the help of your parents so that you make sure that all things are doing how it is on the measurements.
So now we have our mixture. But before we do that, we need to make sure we get our oil in, and our oil is also 3 tablespoons.
Where do we add that? Into the
liquids. We will mix it in with our liquids before we put in our dry ingredients.
Very good. This smells so great, and it's starting to shape up, and it has little bubbles all over it because oil and water mixture do not mix well together.
No, they don't. And then once we have mixed in our dry ingredients with our wet ingredients, do you know what that will become?
I suppose that you're going to tell us.
I am going to tell you. Once we have mixed the ingredients together and they are combined, it is going to be called a compound.
And it is becoming very hard to stir as the mixtures come together.
And it looks like it is very thin, so this is where the extra flour comes in, boys and girls. If you have a very thin mixture, we must add some extra flour to make it thicker. Now, this can also be due to the humidity in the air. It can be due to the location you are throughout the country and different things like that that can cause it to be a little more liquidy.
It's becoming more of a pink than a red.
It
Wonder
is.
why. Do you know why it is?
Well, my guess, Miss Shields, is because it is more diluted out into this, and plus this is a little thicker than if you were just using water when you make Kool-Aid together.
That is cool. But in kindergarten, we also learned that mixing colors make different colors. So with the red Kool-Aid and the white flour, red and white make a color called pink. Pink's my favorite color. Miss Williams likes pink too because she loves flamingos.
Oh yeah, you are absolutely correct about that, Mrs. Shields. I do love flamingos. My boys and girls call me the flamingo queen.
Yes, your room is surely decorated with all kinds, and it is going to be very cool when they see it next year when new students arrive.
Yes, this quarantine has gotten me all upset. I don't like this at all, not being with my boys and girls.
Me either. I miss them tremendously. As we're continuing to mix this up, we would like to show you that there are other things that you can do to learn about with Play-Doh. When I teach it with my students, I use my Play-Doh to make letters. You can roll them and make letters, and you can use cookie cutters to cut out letters, or just to have a good time and cut out shapes, and my students really like that.
And again, so you can see that making Play-Doh can hit multiple subjects that we learn here in school. We have math, we have science, you can have language building activities. So boys and girls, you have all kinds of fun things that you can do simply by making Play-Doh.
Absolutely, and it's fun, it smells good, and it'll make your home smell good. And you'll have a blast if you choose to make it with your parents or with a friend like I did.
That's absolutely correct. If you have brothers and sisters, it will be a lot of fun to make different things with your Play-Doh. We hope you've enjoyed this, and we look forward to hearing your excitement as well.
Have a great day.
Thanks, ladies. All right, since today's episode is all about cooking, it makes sense for our final stop to be with Miss Coulter, who has an awesome botany-inspired lesson about herbs and spices. Let's check it out.
My name is Linda Coulter. I'm the Pro Start instructor at St. Albans High School, St. Albans, West Virginia. Thank you for joining me today. It started out to be very pretty, very sunny, very bright, and it has now progressed into this dreary, rainy Saturday afternoon. So in the beginning, when it was sunny, I thought it would be appropriate to be here with you while I talked about the fresh herbs and the spices. Lots of fresh herbs out there. You're beginning to see farmers markets come on board, and maybe you have someone in your family that grows them in the backyard. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about how we use them in the kitchen. Culinarians, you notice there's a change in my room. I came in from outside. I was just absolutely too cold. I couldn't stand it anymore. I'm going to talk. We're still talking about fresh herbs and the spices. I'm going to show you the fresh. This is parsley, all right. This is a flat leaf Italian parsley, and then this is dried parsley. So this is in its dried form, which means they've taken all the moisture out of the plant, preserved it, put it in a container. You can find it in your grocery store or wherever you shop, even the big box stores. And if you look close, you can see that there are stems and leaves. Okay, so that means that entire plant is edible. Now, I'm going to take you to what we have here is bay leaf. All right, this is fresh, this is dried. I'll turn it around. Bay leaf, okay. The fresh leaf is very pliable. You can see I can bend it, all right. This one's a little bit older. It's still pliable, but you can feel it's a mature plant. It's not a new plant like this little one down here. And you can see some new starts off of it. Now the difference with that, like I said, where that one is fresh, it has moisture in it. The dried does not. And here's a piece of that bay leaf that is out of the container. You can hear it. All right, that means there's no moisture. All right, so it's preserved for longer storage to be used in the winter. And if you don't want to grow it, then you can go to the store again. You can find it at a grocery store or a big box store in a container that's been packaged ready for your use. All right, and this would be what? A spice. That's correct. This is a spice. The difference, fresh herb, spice. All right, I'm going to move on to oregano. All right, this is fresh oregano, and here it is, oregano leaves. You can see it's the same thing. This is just fresh, it's the little leaves. They'll also take this stem, this is edible in its state. They'll dice it up, they'll pull all the moisture out of it, and they'll put it in a container such as this one and get it ready for you to use anytime. And then I have thyme, same thing, dried or fresh. Now the beauty of the thyme leaves, you can also eat the stems, but the little leaf part is what has the most taste of the fresh herb. You can use these in soups and stews. As a matter of fact, all of these can be used in soups and stews. Stoops. There's a brand name chef out there on the internet that talks about stoops, which is a cross between a soup and a stew, but that's for another video. But that's where that word came from. So we're talking about how to use these. Now, on the back of the dried, if you don't have a Pro Start book in front of you, a first year Pro Start book, it tells you right on the back sometimes what you can use them for. All right, so like this one is saying that it can enhance pizzas, meats, and tomato dishes. All right, a bay leaf, which is what I was showing you earlier, is for long-term cooking, so you can extract the flavor out of it. So say you're boiling pasta, and the pasta is just going to taste like pasta unless you season the water. All right, now that's an important word we're going to talk about in a minute. But we're going to change the flavor of the water by extracting, which means we're going to let the bay leaf sit in that boiling water for, maybe 10-15 minutes to get the flavor of the bay leaf out of it into the water to flavor our pasta. And then you're going to throw the bay leaf away. You cannot eat the bay leaf even after it's cooked. Okay, so make sure that anytime you use a bay leaf in a soup or a stew or your boiling water, whatever you're using it for, you get rid of it. All right, it's even in its fresh state. Parsley is mostly used for garnishes. You can also deep fry parsley. That's another cooking method that we could talk about later. Bruising, if you bruise the leaf, then that's just very gently rubbing the leaf between your fingers. There's not too much of a smell to it, but if you deep fry it, it crystallizes and it pops in the mouth. I mean, it's just like this freshness of flavor that you just can't imagine until you actually deep fry parsley. But don't do any cooking methods unless you have an adult present, okay? And then oregano, fresh if you bruise the leaf. Again, we were talking about the oregano. So if you bruise the leaves, then again, that's just barely pressing them between your fingers and you can smell. This would be nice in green beans. You might put a little bit in your egg. You could find this in anything of a tomato dish. You might be using this in tomatoes like pasta sauce, marinara, or some people say marinara, but that would make the flavor that much better. Now, very quickly, a little bit different on seasonings. Okay, seasoning is a flavor enhancer. All right, it's not actually changing the taste. It's bringing balance to the dish. So your seasonings are strictly salt, pepper, maybe a sugar, and maybe an acid. So sugar could be anywhere from brown sugar to molasses and honey, and an acid could be like a lemon or a lime or an orange or a vinegar of some sort. All right, now that's a little bit of talk about fresh herbs and spices and a little bit about seasonings and how we use them. I just wanted to introduce you today. I hope you've enjoyed my time with you. I hope to see you soon. Remember, stay safe, wash those hands, social distance when you go out. You take care of yourself, visit Schoology or whatever program you happen to be on. Visit your lessons often. You can stay up with your work and not get behind in your lessons. Talk to your teachers, talk to your parents or your guardians, but stay safe and take care of yourselves. Until the next time. Let's review. Herbs and spices are important ingredients used to enhance and add to the flavor of foods. Herbs are the leaves, stems, and flowers of an aromatic plant. Spices are the bark, roots, seeds, buds, berries of an aromatic plant. Herbs are available fresh or dried. Dried herbs are much stronger than fresh herbs because the herbs' flavorful oils are concentrated during the drying process. When using dried herbs, lightly crumble or grind them before adding them to the dish. This releases their flavor. When using herbs in place of dry, use 2 to 3 times the amount called for in the recipe. Always add fresh herbs towards the end of the cooking process to retain their delicate flavors. It is common to use both dried and fresh herbs in the same dish. So to review, we are talking about seasoning, and seasoning is something that enhances the flavor of an item without changing the primary flavor of the dish. Seasonings must be used with care to prevent overuse, but should be added gradually at the start of the dish to create the depth of flavor.
Thanks, Ms. Coulter. All right, well, that wraps up everything for us here today on Education Station. We want to thank all of the teachers who submitted their awesome lessons, and we want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Education Station.